They look like something out of a horror movie, but they're very real. Hidden deep in mountains, deserts, and even entire ghost cities, China has built things that will chill you to the bone. These terrifying creations raise more questions than answers. Who built them? Why were they abandoned? And what secrets do they still hide? Get ready, because today we're uncovering China's most terrifying creations you were never meant to see. Coffins hanging on cliffs. High up on the steep cliffs of southern China, something truly strange waits in silence. In the wild karst mountains about 35 kilometers from the nearest town, wooden coffins are hanging from rocks or hidden inside caves. These aren't ordinary graves. They're part of an old tradition called Shuangguan, started by the Bo people, a mysterious group that disappeared in the 1500s. No one knows exactly why they chose such risky places to leave their dead, but many believe it was to keep the bodies safe from floods, animals, and maybe to help their spirits reach the heavens. What's even more chilling is that these hanging coffins are still there, stuck to the cliffs hundreds of feet high, untouched by time. Even Marco Polo talked about this in his travels, saying the Bo people placed their dead in mountain spots that no one could reach. If you visit the Grand Canyon today, you can still see them, hanging quietly in the wind, surrounded by dramatic views. It's like stepping into a lost world that deeply respected the journey after death, leaving behind a haunting mystery carved into the rock. The fake Apple stores of China. It looked perfect from the outside. A shiny Apple logo above the door, clean wooden tables, the latest iPhones on display, and staff dressed in blue shirts ready to help. But in 2011, an American living in Kunming, China, walked into one of these stores and noticed something strange. The place felt exactly like a real Apple store. But Apple had never opened a store in that city. Even the workers believed they were real Apple employees. That one discovery led to a shocking truth. These were fake stores, built to copy everything down to the smallest detail. What came next was even more surprising. Investigators found dozens of these fake Apple stores all over China. They didn't just sell knockoff phones. Some sold real Apple products, while others sold outdated or fake ones at full price. These shops copied everything: the layout, the customer service style, even the attitude of a real Apple store. Local authorities shut many of them down, but the idea stayed in people's minds. It's one thing to fake a phone, but an entire shopping experience? That's a new level of trickery, and it makes you wonder how many more official places out there might actually be fake. Chinese empty Paris. This might shock you, but there's a quiet Paris hidden deep inside China. In the early 2000s, in Zhejiang province, a place called Tianducheng was built to look exactly like the French capital. It has its own Eiffel Tower that stands 354 feet tall, beautiful fountains, elegant European gardens, and even streets named after real Paris locations. From a distance, it looks like a dream, as if someone took a piece of France and placed it in Asia. But here's the strange part. Almost no one lives there. Tianducheng was meant for tens of thousands of people, offering a rich, Paris-style life in China. But things didn't go as planned. The streets are silent, the apartments are empty, and the place feels more like a movie set than a real city. Some say it was too expensive. Others think people just didn't want to live in a fake version of Paris. Whatever the reason, this replica of romance turned into a quiet and eerie reminder that some dreams don't fit into real life. Forgotten Olympic dreams. Once the world watched in awe as Beijing hosted the 2008 Olympics, putting on a show that felt straight out of a dream. Fireworks lit up the sky, athletes broke records, and China proudly showed off its futuristic stadiums. But now, that dream feels like a distant memory. Many of those once glorious venues are abandoned, left to rot in silence. The BMX track that once roared with energy is now covered in weeds. The beach volleyball courts still have sand, but no footsteps. Just stray animals roam there now, like ghosts from a past celebration. It gets even sadder when you look at the rowing and kayaking stadium, once filled with splashing water and cheering crowds. Now it's just still, dark, and forgotten. These places cost millions to build, but were left behind as soon as the games ended. And it's not just Beijing. Many Olympic cities face the same fate. It's strange and almost haunting to watch nature slowly take back these stadiums, as if trying to erase our grandest moment. Was it just bad planning, or is there something more mysterious about these forgotten fields of glory? China's ghost malls. This place was supposed to be a shopping paradise, but today it looks more like a ghost town. The new South China Mall, once called the biggest mall in the world, opened in 2005 with big dreams. It had everything you could imagine: Venetian-style canals inside the halls, fancy European buildings, and even a giant indoor roller coaster. But here's the strange part. No one came. Shops stayed empty, and people just never showed up. The shiny floors turned dusty, the lights went dim, and silence took over. A place made for fun and crowds slowly turned into a giant, lifeless shell. And this isn't just one mall. All across China, there are huge shopping centers standing empty, like forgotten cities. These places were built with big hopes, but failed to attract people. Some say it was bad planning. Others blame it on building too fast, too big. Now, even with efforts to bring them back to life, many of these malls still sit quiet and strange, almost like tombs for dreams that never came true. It's not just sad, it's eerie. These malls were meant to shine, but instead, they whisper stories of plans gone wrong. Haunted tomb of the Ming emperors. Something doesn't feel right in the mountains near Beijing, where 13 emperors of the Ming dynasty were buried centuries ago. This place is called the Ming Tombs, and while it looks peaceful, the locals believe something dark is hidden there. They say the place is haunted, and the creepy feeling in the air makes people believe it. Built over 600 years ago, the location was chosen carefully to balance spiritual forces between life and death. But when you walk through its secret chambers and strange passageways, it feels like someone or something is still watching. The strangest part, only one tomb, called Dingling, has ever been opened, and what happened after that shocked everyone. Researchers who entered started getting sick, and valuable items from inside the tomb began to fall apart as if the tomb didn't want to be disturbed. Some say the spirits of the Empress are still protecting their treasures, while others think it's just an old legend. But whether you believe in ghosts or not, this place makes people ask one chilling question: would you go there at night? Chinese hidden underground caves. Deep under the ground in China, something strange was discovered. Something that left even the smartest experts confused. In 1992, some villagers were draining a pond when they found huge underground caves hidden beneath. These caves, called the Longyu Caves, were carved straight into hard rock. But here's the weird part. No one knows who made them. There are no old records, no drawings, not even a single clue. The walls are perfectly shaped, the ceilings smooth like they were polished, and everything looks like it was made with amazing skill. But this was all done over 2,000 years ago, with no modern machines. The biggest mystery is how they removed around 1 million cubic meters of rock without leaving any tools or waste behind. Some people think these caves were secret places for kings, storage for treasures, or even rooms for ancient ceremonies. But others believe something even crazier. Maybe a lost civilization built them, or maybe, just maybe, something not from this world helped out. Until today, no one really knows. That's why the Longyu Caves are still one of the most mysterious places ever found in China. The lost city with no rules. This place looked like something out of a wild movie. Deep inside Hong Kong, there used to be a place called Kowloon Walled City. It started as a military outpost after World War II, but things quickly spun out of control. No one ruled it. Not China, not Britain. People built homes on top of each other like Lego blocks, creating a city within a city. Over 50,000 people lived in just 6.4 acres. That's more crowded than Manhattan. The narrow corridors were dark and confusing, with buildings stacked so tightly you could barely see the sky. There were no police, no rules, crime, drugs, illegal doctors. Everything ran freely. But what's even more shocking is that life still went on. Kids played on rooftops like it was normal. Families opened noodle stalls and ran small shops right next to illegal factories. By the 1980s, this chaotic maze had become a legend. Tourists and journalists came just to see it with their own eyes. But in 1993, China and Britain finally tore it down, wiping away this strange world forever. Still, the memory of Kowloon Walled City remains one of the weirdest and most unbelievable stories in urban history. Nature took back this Chinese village. Something strange happened on a small island in China. A village named Hutuan was once full of life. Back in the 1980s, over 2,000 people lived there, mostly fishing families. But as the fishing business slowed down and young people moved to big cities, the village began to empty out. By the early 2000s, only a few were left. Then, something amazing happened. Nature moved in. Plants slowly covered the empty homes, trees grew through windows, and moss spread across the streets like a green carpet. Now, Huchuan feels like a lost world from a forgotten story. There are no cars, no lights, and no sound, just the soft rustling of leaves and vines. The whole village looks like a scene from an abandoned movie set, but people are still coming. Tourists and photographers from around the world visit just to see this strange place where nature and old buildings mix in a haunting way. Maybe this is a warning of what happens when people leave their towns behind. Or maybe it's a quiet reminder that no matter what we build, nature will always find a way to take it back. China's empty city. This city looks like it came straight out of a science fiction movie. Ordos Kambashi in Inner Mongolia was built to be a dream city with space for over 1 million people. It had everything: huge roads, tall office buildings, fancy shops, and even sports complexes. The Chinese government spent billions to make it a modern paradise, but when it was ready, almost no one moved in. The buildings stood silent, the roads stayed empty, and shops never opened. It was meant to be full of life, but instead, it felt like a ghost city. The problem was simple. Normal people couldn't afford the high property prices, and businesses didn't want to open in a place with no customers. So the city stayed quiet, almost frozen in time. A few people still live there, and the government keeps the roads and buildings clean, hoping the city might still grow one day. But walking through Ordos Kangbashi feels strange, like being in a perfect world that no one chose to live in. Was it a huge planning mistake or a city built too soon? Either way, it's one of the most haunting places in China. The town where art feels haunted. Step into a strange town in China called Dafan, where something feels off the moment you walk in. Every street is lined with the same paintings, Van Gogh's Starry Nights and Monet's Gardens, copied again and again by skilled hands. This place isn't a museum, it's a factory of art. Here, thousands of artists don't create new things, they repeat the old over and over. It feels like being stuck in a dream where time doesn't move forward and art has lost its soul. Instead of emotion and expression, it's just product after product, made to be sold. But Dafan's world is changing fast. It once thrived by turning famous art into perfect replicas, but now AI-generated images are taking over. Local artists are trying to survive by adding personal touches to their work, hoping to bring back the feeling of real creativity. Still, the town feels like a ghost of what art is supposed to be, a mix of talent and imitation locked in a quiet battle. It's a place full of skill, yet haunted by the question, is this still art or just a beautiful machine? Haunted UFO village of Taiwan. Something weird was going on in Taiwan back in the 1970s. A bunch of strange, UFO-shaped houses were built near the beach. These pod-like homes were part of a luxury resort project meant for rich people with a futuristic design that looked straight out of a sci-fi movie. But from the start, things went horribly wrong. Workers kept getting injured or even dying during construction, and locals believed the land was cursed. Some even said it used to be a burial ground. The creepy stories spread fast, and soon investors ran away from the project. The resort was never finished. Years passed, and those odd-looking houses were left behind to rot. Grass and weeds took over, walls got covered in graffiti, and the place looked more like a horror movie set than a vacation spot. People who explored the area said they felt something strange in the air, like they were being watched. Some even claimed they heard whispers in the wind. In 2010, the government finally tore it all down. But even today, the mystery of the haunted UFO village still gives people chills. Was it just bad luck? Or did something dark truly live there? China's abandoned Disneyland. This place was supposed to be full of magic and fun, but it turned into something very different. Back in the 1990s, China started building a huge amusement park called Wonderland. It was meant to be even bigger than Disneyland, with fairy tale castles and wild rides. But the dream collapsed when builders and landowners started fighting over money and land. Construction stopped all of a sudden, and the park was never finished. Not a single visitor ever walked through the gates. Years passed, and something strange happened. Local farmers started planting crops around the half-built castles and broken rides. The mix of farming and fairy tale ruins looked like something from another world. Explorers and photographers came from everywhere to see the forgotten park, but in 2013, Wonderland was torn down completely. Some say it was just a failed project. Others wonder if the empty towers and silent roads were hiding a deeper secret, maybe even something cursed. China's game-changing railgun. Something big is happening in China's Navy, and it's making other countries pay attention. They've been working on a powerful new weapon called a railgun. But this isn't your normal cannon. Instead of using gunpowder or explosions, it fires bullets using magnetic force. Back in 2018, photos showed a Chinese warship with a strange new weapon on the front. That ship, called the Hayangshan, was testing this railgun. It could fire projectiles at around 2.6 kilometers per second. That's incredibly fast. This moment showed the world that China is serious about creating high-tech weapons for future battles at sea. This new railgun has some big advantages. It can hit faraway targets using only speed and force, without carrying dangerous explosives on board. That makes it safer for the ship and crew, but building it isn't easy. It needs a huge amount of electric power and special systems to store that energy. The parts also wear out quickly from the intense heat and pressure. While other countries are still stuck in testing, China is moving forward fast. Their progress could give them a strong lead in future sea battles, showing how important new technology is for modern warfare. The haunted house that terrified Beijing. People in Beijing still whisper about an old mansion hiding in the Chaoyang Men district. This scary place is called Number 81, a French Baroque-style house built around 1910. No one knows for sure what it was first used for. Some say it was a missionary school, others believe railway workers lived there. But the fear really started after a woman, either the wife or mistress of a Kuomintang officer, was left alone during the communist takeover in 1949. Heartbroken, she ended her life inside the house. Locals say you can still hear her crying when storms hit the city. Here's where it gets even stranger. Long ago, a British priest was working on the house but vanished before it was finished. He left behind creepy underground tunnels, and no one knows where they lead. Over the years, the mansion became government offices, then a temporary base for Red Guards during the Cultural Revolution, but the guards suddenly left without a word. People said they were scared off by something unseen. In 2014, a horror movie called The House That Never Dies brought the mansion back into the spotlight. Even after renovations, Number 81 still pulls in curious visitors, all hoping to feel the chilling energy that made it the most haunted house in Beijing. Train passes through this apartment building. This building in Chongqing, China hides a shocking secret. There's a working train station right inside it. From the outside, it looks like a normal apartment tower, but on the 6th to 8th floors, there's a train gliding straight through the building. This is Liba Station, a one-of-a-kind design made for a city filled with steep hills and packed streets. Engineers built it to save space without disturbing the people living inside. And yes, it's real. People actually live just meters away from the train tracks. What's even more amazing is how quiet it is. Don't worry about hearing a loud train while watching TV. The station uses special soundproofing, so the noise is no louder than a dishwasher. Many people think the train came later, but that's not true. The building and the train line were built together from the start. Everything was planned to reduce shaking and sound. This mix of smart city planning and wild creativity makes Chongqing's skyline something travelers and engineers around the world love to see. Hotel built deep inside the earth. This place isn't your normal hotel. It's built almost 300 feet underground inside an old quarry in China. It's called the Intercontinental Shanghai Wonderland, and it flips everything upside down. Instead of going up like a skyscraper, this hotel goes deep into the earth. Only 2 floors are above ground, while the rest, including 2 floors underwater, are hidden beneath the surface. Guests sleep surrounded by rock walls that were once part of a mining site. The underwater rooms give amazing views of fish swimming just outside your window, but at the same time, it can feel like you're inside a giant cave. Now imagine walking through quiet halls, deep in the ground, waterfalls crashing outside your window, and cliffs rising around you. Sounds peaceful, right? But there's also a strange, heavy silence in the air. Some say the place feels a bit eerie, like nature is quietly watching. The idea was to blend the hotel with nature, but being surrounded by dark rock and deep water can make your mind play tricks. Would you be excited to spend a night in this hidden hotel? Or would the thought of sleeping so deep underground make your heart race? Scariest glass bridge. Just picture this. You're walking high above a deep valley, and suddenly the glass under your feet looks like it's cracking. That's the kind of terror people face on China's wild glass bridges. One of the most famous is the Zhangjiajie Glass Bridge, hanging 980 feet in the air and stretching over 1,400 feet long. It gives stunning views of mountains and cliffs, but the real thrill comes from the fear. Some bridges even have special effects that make the glass look like it's breaking when you step on it. People freeze in place, legs shaking, or rush across in panic. It's more than just a walk, it's an emotional roller coaster in the sky. What's even crazier is how strong these bridges actually are. The glass is made with thick layers of tempered panels, strong enough to hold the weight of dozens of elephants. Steel cables keep everything steady, even in strong winds. Engineers check the bridges daily and after storms to make sure they're always safe. Still, it's the see-through floors that mess with people's minds. Other bridges, like the Shelingxia in Beijing, use glowing lights to look like cracks, while the Hangyagu glass suspension bridge stretches nearly 1,700 feet across and hangs 1,800 feet above the canyon floor. These bridges don't just scare people, they bring millions of tourists and boost local economies. But some now question if these extreme thrills are safe or just too much. Coiling Dragon Cliff Skywalk. High above the ground, there's a place in China where your fear and courage collide. It's called the Coiling Dragon Cliff Skywalk, and it's a glass walkway hanging 4,600 feet above the ground on the edge of Tianmen Mountain in Zhangjiajie National Forest Park. This narrow path is only about 5 feet wide and stretches 328 feet long, with nothing but clear glass between your feet and the deep valley below. Many people get stuck halfway, shaking with fear, while others grip the cliff like their life depends on it. Even though the glass is super strong and can hold dozens of people, just looking down makes your heart race. But thrill seekers love it, not just for the fear, but for the jaw-dropping mountain views that come with it. This glass path wasn't easy to build. Engineers had to fix it tightly into the Rocky Mountain without damaging nature. They used special steel and high-tech glue to make sure it stays strong, even through strong winds and earthquakes. The glass has multiple thick layers and can survive falling rocks and heavy steps for years. During winter, frosts and snow make it even scarier, and on foggy days, it feels like you're walking in the clouds. The Skywalk also hosts wild events like mountain marathons and extreme sports. It's not just an adventure, it's also helping people appreciate the beauty of nature. But keeping it beautiful means limiting tourists to protect the mountain. Still, the Coiling Dragon Cliff Skywalk remains one of China's most exciting and heart-pounding places. If these creepy structures gave you chills, hit that like button and subscribe for more mysterious and jaw-dropping stories from around the world. And tell us in the comments which one freaked you out the most. Until next time, stay curious and stay safe.